He's worse than Ten Hag.
And it's okay to say that, by the way. That Amorim is taking
and that's not wrong. And that's not me saying that Amorim is not a better, but is not a better manager than Ten Hag, but he's currently performing worse. I can't sit here and lie when the results and the performances tell you this. Just look.
He was always going to take us backwards, though. I'd said that before we signed him. Do you know what I mean? Before we got him in the club. Of course, he's going to take us backwards because these players have had to adjust to a system they're not accustomed to. They were shit in a system that they were accustomed to. So obviously, having to completely retool with a bunch of players that don't fit his system, aren't profiling his profiles, then of course they're going to be worse. You know what I mean? And then losing two goals, or at least losing one goal scorer out of the team. You know, losing another attacking player and not getting any replacements, and then having the injuries on top of that. Of course, we were going to be worse. I didn't expect us to get better on it.
I didn't expect us to. I expected him to come in and steady the ship. I did not expect us to be worse. I did not expect. What is it? 10 losses
I
in.
thought it'd be rough.
What was it? 10 losses in what? How many games? 10 losses.
I didn't think it was. Don't get me wrong, Divorce. I didn't think it'd be that bad. But you go back. What's the old?
Yeah. Ash, you called it. That's what I'm saying, and that's the difference. I didn't expect it to get worse because if I knew it was going to be what, like I did not. I didn't expect it to be great, but I thought you would do better, and the bar was on the floor. All you had to do was just be better than Ten Hag, and I go, hey, you know what? These players are woeful. Cool, you've come in and steadied the ship because there is things you can do. Because we've seen him do certain things. I've mentioned about dropping players. There's certain games and certain results we've got where you look at it and go, all right, because he's gotten worse. We performed better when he first got here than now.
And I think most of us would be okay. I think most of us would be okay with being in the exact same spot, but seeing it on the pitch.
Seeing something, show
seeing something.
Something.
Because like,
what do you mean seeing something?
Maybe that's something next season, man. I don't know.
Are we not seeing Are we not seeing improvement defensively? We're not seeing improvement on the ball. Actual system. We can actually see a system now. We can actually see what the manager wants to do going forward. Under Ten Hag, that wasn't the case.
I can't.
I don't see much. I don't see much.
There is. It is better than Ten Hag, but it's not better to say.
The thing is, it's the odd game. Like the Liverpool away game, for example. Yes, I can fully see what big up Staffy. I can fully see like what we're doing and what's going on. The Arsenal games, for example. There's certain moments in certain games where Everton, where I go, yeah, but
we're not going to see as many shots. We're not going to see as many goals. I think in terms of like, remember under Ten Hag, there was a lack of structure that made us like.
Yeah, it was, but I would expect that him changing to a back three.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you're on mute, Staffy.
Sorry, we lost under Ten Hag by three plus goals. I think it was like over 18 times.
Over 18 times, yeah.
Over 18 times in 2 seasons. This is the second time it happens to us. By the way, sorry for my aggressive approach. Big up everyone.
No. It's calm.
Thank you for sending it up.
But on the flip side, with that, our attacks got worse, which was already bad.
No, the thing is,
our attacks gone backwards.
I don't think Ten Hag is a good point of reference. My point is I want Amorim to do Amorim things, and I'm not seeing it, and it's just not good enough for me at the moment. That just is, because I don't think you comparing to Ten Hag. What are we doing? Ten Hag was a disgrace. He needed to be gone. It was not good. And at the moment we're talking about Amorim. What I'm seeing from Amorim, I haven't been able to see much progress since January.
Adam, what was you expecting out of this game today? You can't have been expecting much out of this game today. Like what we're doing, we got Lindelof at the back with Eriksen in the middle with a guy. I mean, we got Garnacho up top. What we're doing here?
Players should be playing. That's the problem.
I was not expecting us to beat Newcastle. I think Newcastle are stronger than us. They're more physical than us, and I think the squad we have is poor. However, just like I said earlier, when you know the team is going to press in a way or to play in a way, I want him to be clever enough to adjust, and we've been easy to play against. Like he's not sweet. Like I think there is a point where sticking to your tactics and to your philosophy has become a way of not admitting that you can't actually manage game within the game, because there is a fine nuance. Like there's a fine line between sticking to your principles and not being able to do anything else. And I want my manager to do both. I want to stick to the ideas. But if we are playing against a team that plays in a certain way, I want him to adjust. Just like if you get Pep
Amorim's not that manager though. Amorim's clearly not that manager. He never was that manager. He's the same type of like a Wenger or like a Pep. You know, in his first 5 or 6 years. He's one of them managers that he's got his system, he's got his style.
But that's not the thing. That's not the point. That's not the point, because Pep has his system and his idea and all of that. But if he faces a team that plays a certain way and it's causing them problem, he knows that his philosophy is not going to change, but he needs to reply to that. if you have a team that is so aggressive man to man and you can't get out, you make a tweak, you make a change, you do something in the game. And then, of course, you have your overlap.
Yeah, but he did. But Adam, sorry, this is why I had to ask for the link, because I'm not gonna lie, I can't believe some of the things that I heard today. When you say that, first of all, we were so reliant on that long ball when Xerxes was on the pitch, and it worked for large parts, especially in that first half. I was doing a watch along, and I actually told my chat the fact that we went at halftime 1-1, to me, that felt like a win, because we should have been losing anyways. This team could not compete whatsoever with this Newcastle team, especially on the physical side. Let me remind you, going into this Newcastle game today, not only did we not beat them in their stadium for 3 seasons in a row, the last time we scored a goal in their stadium was when Cavani played for us. That is how long ago it's been since Newcastle's been whooping our ass. That one game we won in the League Cup was actually the one-off. And then we beat them once last season, I think, when everyone was on the beach.
When you see Newcastle play against another team like West Ham or whatever, they don't look as dominant as they look against us.
I agree.
It's a complete mismatch when we play against Newcastle.
I agree. I actually used those words, Adam. I said today was a mismatch, not a matchup. But I think that's more down to us. Because not only do we lose a lot this season, first of all, this was the biggest defeat we took under Amorim so far. All right. It feels like we've been losing a lot. We only lost 2 in our last 10. All right. This is the biggest defeat that we had, and it was the only time we lost by 3 or more goals. The reason why Newcastle exposes every time we play them, I mentioned 3 years, right? I want you to go back, and Adam, you're an intelligent guy. Go back and look at the recruitment that they've done over the last 3 years versus our recruitment. Every time we face them, they get stronger, we get weaker. They get stronger, we get weaker. Remember when they beat us 3-0 in the League Cup when we put our bench out? They put our bench out. That has been a long time coming. We do not match up well with Newcastle. But when you look at the players that by the way, I understand everything tactically you're speaking about. You're saying, okay, we want to manage to nullify this and nullify that. I told you that there was periods in the game when we actually played longer ball, it looked better. It was only a couple times that we went through our press. But instead of me saying here, all right, I can't go man-to-man press with them, which I agree with. Why am I highlighting the manager more? When, listen, I could fluke a long ball game and somehow leave with a draw, leave with a 1-0 in a miraculous day where I don't have Lindelof in center back and I don't have, the goalkeeper giving away mistakes. But why am I not highlighting the fact that they, over 3 years, have built a physical monster of a team, especially their midfield. They have the most physical midfield, I think, in top 4 in the top 5 European leagues. They have the physical midfield that can match out everyone. And I have today Ugarte getting bitched every time on the ball, and Eriksen, who was nowhere to compete with anything physical. And my alternatives, Adam, would be Bruno, who you don't like, and Casemiro, who's polarizing the fan base as well.
The thing is, my answer to that is, you think I'm speaking only about Newcastle, but the thing is, with Amorim, we were looking much better. We were looking better when he first arrived until we played against Bournemouth, and they did exactly what Newcastle did, and they put us in a split 3-0. And ever since that point, because the Premier League is a top league for a reason. You're playing against managers that are clever, even if they are the bottom half of the table. So ever since that Bournemouth game, people looked at it and said, you know what, if you press these guys, they are very stubborn trying to play from the back, and they don't have the quality to do it yet because that squad is not good enough. If they do that, they have a very, very good chance of beating us. So that's why the physical team, the Forest, the Bournemouth, the Brentford, the Newcastles, the Brighton, when they do
they
that,
flex on us.
I think
they storm us. Yeah. So you need to find out. My thing is, I understand everything, like every argument in defense of Amorim, I get it. But you are a top club, and you got that job very young because you're supposed to be that la crème de la crème. And you're not showing me that you belong to that level, because people are telling me he's a young manager. If you're telling me that he's a young manager, it tells me that we made a mistake. I don't want to hear it. So you need to be able to tactically outwit other managers, because you are in the office that demands that. And he's not doing it.
Adam, but here's the thing. We have out-tacticked certain teams this season. A lot of them actually came in the bigger games. So it's not like I've never seen this manager out-tactic someone. But even in a scenario, because you were talking about the scenarios where physical teams, they swarm us because they know we can't compete with them on a physical level.
We have 6 wins out of 21 in the league.
Is it
No, I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware.
And look at those teams that we beat.
Adam, what I'm trying to say is there has been games where we out-tactic the other teams and we still didn't win. There's another tactic to play against us, and I think that's the easiest one. When there's so many teams, when they leave us the ball, they know there's nothing we can do with it. Because the minute we sit in their final third and they see the quality that we have in the final third, when Garnacho's playing, when Højlund is playing, and I don't know who the other 10 is because we usually just put Bruno one game, we put Xerxes one game, it doesn't matter. That is a tactic that actually shot us in the foot so many times this season because it exposes furthermore the quality of our team. So not only am I sitting here telling you there's a way to expose us tactically, you just told me there's a way to expose us physically. So we're not a good technical team and we're not a good physical team. What am I meant to do with a crop of players that I can't play either one with them? Now, I'm not dismissing, by the way, what you said. There's a lot of instances where Amorim pissed me off with some of his selections. But I think when I joined, Flawless was saying, I want him to experiment more. This is the same manager in his first 2 months when he was experimenting and he was making wholesale changes. People were also getting annoyed. They were like, by now you should know your best 11. We know we don't have a good 11. Can we all admit that? So when he knows that as well, why are we surprised?
One of the problems is yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go on, Adam. You go.
Ever since he stopped rotating, we looked worse. So that means the moment he's trying to kind of settle on the team, it got worse. Because those 2 first months were actually a bit better, if we're being honest.
I agree, but
then again,
I have no issue.
If you're going to criticize the quality of the team, I'm your biggest ally. Like, you know how I feel about 90% of
no,
team.
I know you do. That's why I'm reminding you.
Yeah, and there's
I know
no
it very
issue
well.
with
I know
that.
it very well. The thing is, you need to make the most of it. I need to see him fighting with. I need to see him as a 12th player on the pitch and not seeing it.
Yeah, like that's where it stands. Like when I say about him experimenting, because everything you mentioned it there, Staffy, about us having nothing in the final third. Try different plays in the final third. That's something that he's not done. We know Garnacho is not good enough. Why do you consistently and persist with him when he's not good enough? Same with Højlund. Like, what are we like?
Have alternatives, Flawless.
We do have
why
alternatives.
do we forget that?
We
loaned them out.
Alternatives. You could have easily played. You could have easily tried Xerxes there. You could have tried Eriksen there. You could have played Bruno more there. You could have tried Cheeto. Not saying any of these things work. I'm saying attempt it. Because when we've actually played youngsters, they've actually looked decent. People were telling me about, like, for instance, Heaven, when he's played, done all right. Amas today in a difficult environment, did all right. Collier when he played, did all right. Cheeto, even in his limited time, do all right. We know they can do no worse than the players playing in front of him, is my point. You play a striker, all right, he goes 20 games without a goal. That's exactly what Højlund's done. That's where my issue, like, and there's a way, and it's not that we lost to Newcastle today. That is my issue. The manner in which we did.
It's the manner, yeah, it's the manner. It's the manner.
But that's where I still have an issue, Flawless.
Go on.
I don't want to hog the mic. I'm sorry. I'm really not trying to be this guy, especially that this is not my channel. Big up, Saeed. You always give me a platform. I'm not trying to be this guy. I just still find it baffling that we're in February. Sorry, not February, April. And see, I'm trying to take us back 2 months. I don't know why.
I'm trying to get to the end of the season.
I want the season to be over.
It's trying to get to the end of the season.
It's April 13th today, and we still get surprised when you say, "Oh, it's the manner of defeat." Flawless. I'm pretty sure if I look at all your records for all the streams you did this season, I'm at least gonna point out about 10 times where we lost, and the day you're like, "Oh, it's the manner of defeat today." And by the way, that's normal because I keep saying every time we lose, I'm like, "Oh my God, can't we get worse than here?" And then it gets worse. But that is why I have an issue. Why are we still surprised? Why are we still acting like we're a better team than what we are? We are not a better team.
Hold on a minute. It's down to a coach to change that narrative.
Yeah.
No,
it's down to a coach.
Why do you think that?
We're coaching mistakes today, though,
like is what do we now? You have to say, right, what are we going to see differently that makes us better? Like, you have to find the margins. Every coach here in any sport here has to find the margins of why we didn't win the game. Why? What happened?
But you know right now, Saeed.
Hold on a minute. We're not seeing them margins here become better for us in our and that for me is it could be the midfield. It could be how our defensive structure is. It could be our attacking rhythm. All the manager has to do is get the margins to be to the point where we're like, right, okay, next match we're getting better. We're getting better. We're getting better. For me, we haven't seen
what margins. I'm sorry, Said what margins. All of a sudden, is going to make.
You keep saying, yeah. What do we need to see differently? Of course, a coach, his job is to make us better. That's a manager.
No, but he doesn't just say he doesn't have a magic wand where he's gonna go like this, and Garnacho's gonna go for. Garnacho's a top shot.
Magic wand. I'm not saying a magic wand.
Besides, that's how you're behaving. That's how you're behaving because you're saying these marginal things. There's nothing a manager could do. You can bring Pep, you can bring Klopp, you can bring Fergie back and put them all on the pitch, and all of a sudden it's Garnacho going to go from being the highest volume shooter on our team to the worst conversion rate, and it's not going to change.
You're giving us false options, and this is not what we're talking about.
You stopped playing him, which he did. He dropped him from the derby. He dropped him for the Manchester derby, and then we didn't see him for 4 or 5
we still don't score flawless.
No, but
we
again,
still don't score.
We were not scoring with Ten Hag.
But you attempt different things. You mentioned it there about it being a shock. It's not a shock that we lost to Newcastle and we made it easy for them.
No, it's
but
not.
it's still a problem.